Today, we're going to talk about why your virtual assistant will quit and how to avoid that. I'm Zach. I'm the founder of Talented. We place talent from the Philippines in 7- and 8-figure e-commerce businesses. We do $1 million a year in revenue on Amazon, and I've been hiring from the Philippines myself since 2021. All right, so why am I doing this? Why am I making this video? I interview a lot of VAs for myself and for our clients that are leaving their current job, and the most common reason I hear does not have to do with money. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to build a long-term overseas team and avoid you having to start over from scratch, finding someone new because of mistakes that could have been avoided. And hopefully one day you'll work with us to find your next hire. The 3 V's of why a virtual assistant will quit, starting with vision. They feel stuck and have no clear path forward. Voice, they feel alone and are afraid to speak up. And values, they don't feel connected. Your team is missing its DNA. Starting off with vision. VAs don't quit jobs, they quit the leaders that never believed in them. The first most common reason I hear from VAs is that they felt complacent in their last job. If you hired ambitious people, they won't want to be stuck in this same place forever. People need to see how their vision for themselves, their future goals fit into yours. If not, they're going to find another opportunity once they've outgrown yours. So how do you provide this vision? First, you have to uncover the initial goals. What motivates them? What do they see for themselves in the next couple of years? And what their goal target income is. And then we match the rewards to their motivation. So figuring out if they're motivated by public recognition, private recognition, short loop gifts, long-term raises, a commission bonus, a promotion, a leadership role promotion, and then rewarding each person with what they say they're most motivated by. Then defining their path. So if they're looking for a promotion, defining what that role is that they're striving for, what responsibilities they want to have with that role, why they want that promotion, what's their motive behind it, what skills they must obtain to get there, and how we'll help them get there. And then for the goal income portion, what exactly do they have to do to reach that? So if it's through a raise, what's your raise structure? Is it based on merit, based on them achieving goals consistently, or is it based on tenure, like an annual raise? Or if it's on bonus structure, working backwards on what they would have to do in order to achieve that goal income. In order to provide vision, you have to help them get to these goals as well. So first, I do this by providing them the resources, so gifting my team relevant books, writing them training modules for the next responsibility, bringing in external course materials if I think someone else can teach it better, stress testing them with role play scenarios before we jump right into it, and making the progress that they've made clearly visible. So for us, we have a KPI sheet that we track on a weekly and a monthly basis so they know where they stand and how close they are to achieving their goals. If it's for a leadership role they're striving for, doing some things like leaving for a day and putting them in charge, giving them oversight and mentorship of a new team member, letting them run a team meeting themselves, and providing a temporary promotion. Mistakes I see. First is promoting too quick. So if you have a gap in your company you're trying to fill, promoting based on time that someone's been with the company, not actual merit and ability to get the job done. Because the problem with promoting is you can't take it back. So you have to make sure that they're actually going to be a good fit and have the ability to excel in that role. And the second mistake I see is setting vague goals. So like promising future opportunities and leaving the criteria of what it takes to get where they want to go unclear and relying just on like your emotional discretion of if you feel like they're deserving of it rather than based on concrete metrics. Because this will also leave them to feeling complacent if they have a vision but they don't know what it's actually going to take for them to get there. So now that you've given your team a clear path to grow, what happens if they're too afraid to walk it? The best leaders know how to get people talking instead of always about themselves. Another common reason I hear for people leaving their past jobs is they felt alone. Most people think that their VAs will speak up when something's wrong, but especially in Filipino culture, they have a huge respect for authority. And so you won't end up actually getting the information that you need to hear, that's important to you. They'll hide it from you if they don't feel comfortable enough. And if they don't feel comfortable enough doing that, then they won't tell you when they're considering leaving. So how do you actually guide your team to speak freely? First thing I do is kill the weed. So I most commonly see this issue on team meetings. So I have to, when I bring on a new team member, I have to make sure they meet every single person and break the ice with them, or else I find that people think they're silently judging them on the meeting and they're afraid to speak up. And also creating regular moments where speaking up is required. My team captain does this great for our monthly recap meeting. She has sections where everyone has to, on the meeting, say what their goals are. Then by setting the example, so asking them directly, like, what could I do better as a leader? Showing them my vulnerability that I'm trying to get better and asking for their input and admitting when I don't know something. And then by having open feedback channels. So on our one-on-one meetings, it's 10% me prompting them with good questions, 90% them asking the questions. Things like, how's your current workload? What can I do to make it easier to achieve your goals? Then we have our Slack channels like casual chats, group chats, and then our monthly performance report where I'm asking very similar questions. Maybe if they weren't comfortable sharing it on a meeting, then are willing to type it out for me. Because I find a lot of times they'll be afraid to share these things and say how they're feeling if I don't prompt them for it. So that's where these feedback channels are designed to prompt these questions to get their opinion, to get their feedback so they can share how they feel. Then positive reinforcement, so celebrating when they actually do communicate something with me and staying calm in the face of negative news. If they're talking about an issue or talking about a mistake, keeping my cool and not overreacting. Then valuing their opinion, asking them, again, questions like, how would you handle this differently? What would you do differently if you were me? And how do you think we can improve this process? The most common mistakes I see here are creating too much authority distance. So acting like a boss instead of a leader. I think that leadership serves. And so I don't see myself as a hierarchy above my team because then that makes them feel nervous to share these kind of things. Then being overly formal or corporate in your communication and visibly showing your frustration when they bring up problems, because that creates a negative reinforcement loop where they came up with the courage to share something with you that they were scared to, and you reacted negatively, you were frustrated, and now next time they won't share it with you. But having a voice means nothing if they don't feel like they belong. Values. Strong teams are built, not bought. The final, most common reason I hear for VAs leaving their current job is toxic work culture. Most people think that because they're a remote team, that they're overseas, that you can't build a real bond, you can't build a real connection. But in my experience, that cannot be further from the truth. When your team feels like they're actually a part of something, they become invested in the team's success as a whole. So here are some signs that you have weak values. First off, everyone talks like they're in an HR meeting. There's zero casual messaging. Nobody's sharing about things going on in their life. Nobody knows when each other's birthdays are. You feel like everyone is doing the bare minimum required to keep their jobs. And there's an individual focus rather than a team mindset. So how do you build these values on your overseas team? The first thing I do starts at the foundation, hire right. Looking for genuine team players, someone that's actually going to mesh with our team instead of a pretty resume. And then paying above market to actually attract these high performers, these people with high character. Another thing I do is have my current team join our interviews. So if someone's made it to like the final round, I'll have my team captain hop on and see if it's someone she thinks she would actually get along with. And of course, removing team members who create a negative environment. We want to get those out of the way because that'll bring down the whole company. Another way I build values is by creating team moments. So having my team do joint projects together where they're forced to collaborate on it to achieve the outcome. Hosting virtual game nights. Every week we do a game night for like 30 minutes. Celebrating their personal milestones like birthdays, work anniversaries, celebrating their personal goals. So like on my team, we have a health initiative, a workout initiative that we like to celebrate together, and getting to know each other. I share about my life with them so they feel comfortable enough to do the same. Then aligned incentives, showing each of them how their role affects all the other parts of the business and how it's in their best interest for the team to succeed as a whole. So they bring people up around them rather than just focusing on being above everyone. And finally, normalizing mistakes, making it safe for them to try new things and not hiding my own mistakes when I do make them, showing that they're not going to be fired as long as we have a lesson learned from each mistake we make. And celebrating growth, each day-by-day improvement rather than waiting until things are perfect. The question I'll leave you with is, why would your team leave if your business is exactly what they're looking for. So that's why with all these things, I focus on building the kind of business that someone would never want to leave. So to recap, VAs leave because they feel stuck, not just because of money. Ambitious talent needs to see how their vision fits into yours, and you have to create a clear path for exactly what they need to do to achieve where they want to go. Filipino VAs are not going to speak up when something's wrong, so you have to have a bunch of different systems in place in order to get them to speak up through Slack, meetings, performance reports, and then showing them it's okay by leading with vulnerability. And finally, hiring team players, building bonds intentionally because that will not happen by accident, and making it bigger than just work, making the business about having shared experiences with your team, with these people. If you enjoyed this video, you'll also enjoy my full VA hiring process video, which is linked above, and I'll see you in the next one.